Hey everybody, Josh Feedy. Welcome to The Founder's Mentality. This is episode 4, and today I'm bringing somebody that has, honestly, I've been talking to this guy for over a year now?
Yeah, isn't that funny?
It's happened really fast.
It has.
But it's been at least a year.
Yeah, and it was interesting, right? Because I think as you're starting a company, you start to make the rounds towards entrepreneurial events.
Yeah.
And we were running into each other.
Everywhere. So Parker here just kind of turned into a pseudo advisor of mine. I think I turned into a little bit of an advisor of his even.
Most definitely.
We share a lot of the same feelings on how you should market a company today and how you should position your company for customer sales right now.
Yes.
And so we've been brainstorming all kinds of things, but regardless, I'm really excited to have him here. I think everybody watching the show is going to learn a lot from this guy, and please do reach out to him afterwards as well. We share a very similar mindset in if you're a hustler, if you're a startup, if you have questions, let me help you, and let me see what you can teach me as well. But Parker, do a really quick introduction on who you are and what your company is that you've started.
Sure. So, hey, everybody. First and foremost, thank you for this opportunity. This is
Thanks
great.
for being here.
Yeah. So I'm Parker Schlank, run a little travel tech startup called Travel Labs. Mm-hmm. We're essentially trying to rethink the traditional business travel construct. Sure. I think when I bring up the words business travel today,
right,
people generally they have a visceral reaction to business travel.
No, it's my favorite thing to do.
Yeah, exactly. So with that in mind, I've been around the travel industry for a long time.
Yep.
I grew up in the travel industry. It's always been a part of my life, and I want to bring that little bit of magic back to business travel.
Right.
And so what Travel Labs focus is on essentially building the best user experience for business travelers. So what we've done is we've taken AI, and essentially combined it with a rethought interface for how to book business travel to reduce what is really a complex and verbose act of booking business travel and reduce it down to a single click. And that's the vision. That's the goal, and that's what we're bringing to the market.
That's what you've done.
Yes.
I mean, I've seen the product. It looks great.
Thanks.
The people that are using it right now and testing it out, the responses have been incredible.
Thanks.
So congratulations, you've done it. Now it's just a matter of doing it more and better and ensuring that this company survives.
Exactly,
right?
and enrolling all of you. That's my shameless plug right there. Right?
Nope. Sign up. Just go to the website. Sign up. Get on the test. Right. Start using this product.
We would love that.
Yeah. I mean, there's not a huge market for what you do because so many people do love booking their own travel, right? And it's just a favorite of every traveling business professional to select their car and their hotel and their airplane every time.
Spend 30 minutes sifting through all of that.
It's a really fun
headache.
thing. So I wish you the best of luck. I don't know if anyone's going to want to simplify that process.
It's going to be tough.
All right, so this is totally unscripted, as you know.
Yes, it is.
You have no idea what kind of questions I'm going to ask you. I'm not going to.
I wish I did.
No, we just go with it here. But one thing that I wanted to touch upon, because one thing that I think is incredibly important about your current success with this product and why you're being successful, and something that I think other entrepreneurs should pay attention to, is if you attempt to start a company in a space where you have direct experience, you are far more likely to succeed with what you're creating.
Yeah.
And you have absolutely done that. So what I'd love to hear is, where did the idea, when did this lightning bolt strike where you realized this needs to exist and I can actually do it?
Sure. So interesting story there, and a couple parallels for people who are essentially early in their career or early in thinking about starting a business. When I remember vividly, I was in high school, right?
Okay.
And I was standing in my kitchen. I remember exactly where I was. Okay. And I went to my father and I said, "Hey, Dad, I want to be successful, right? I want to be super successful.
Yeah.
How do I do that?"
Yep.
And he said, "Here's what you do. You go to college. You get an accounting degree and you get a business law degree." And he said, that's all you need.
Yeah.
And you'll be successful in life.
Yeah.
So of course I started down that track.
Sure.
And graduated successfully from college with a finance accounting degree, started my first gig, Merrill Lynch, wealth management.
Yep.
Great opportunity to learn sales, by the way. And quickly started to realize it's less about the discipline. It's less about like the, whether you're in finance, whether you're in sales, whether you're, in marketing, whether you're in customer service. It's a lot less about that.
Yep.
And it's a lot more about whether you resonate and whether you're passionate about the industry and the things that you're doing.
Yep.
And so I learned very quickly, I mentioned growing up in and around travel, that travel was just what I loved, right? Like that's just what got me out of bed in the morning. That's what made me hungry.
Okay.
And in that, I started working in travel.
Okay.
So I took, I guess, a slightly different path than a lot of other entrepreneurs in the sense of, starting a business right away. I went in and got a corporate job.
Yep.
I, fought my way through the corporate ranks.
Yep.
And I did that all within the travel space.
Yep.
And what that taught me was it taught me the industry. It taught me everything about the industry.
Yeah.
And in doing that, in starting to absorb that knowledge, you start to identify where there are gaps.
Yeah.
And when you start to identify where those gaps exist, that's when opportunities come.
Yep.
That's when you have those ideas. I see so many, and I hear so many people saying, well, give me a great idea. Like, give me a great idea on how to start a business. And it's like, it doesn't happen that way. You can't just sit down and force your way into a great idea to start a business.
Yep.
I firmly believe you have to understand the industry that you work in, understand the gaps and the pain points of the people who use those products within that industry.
Yep.
And then you will come to those ideas. And once you have that domain expertise, you can translate that.
Absolutely. I just had a conversation with someone just the other day in my office here that is considering taking the plunge, going into entrepreneurship. And he said, the problem is I just don't have the idea right now. And what I told him was, do you remember when you were in high school and you really wanted a girlfriend? You really wanted a girlfriend.
That's a good
and
analogy.
No matter what you did, you couldn't get a girlfriend. And then you gave up on it. And then the next month, you had a girlfriend.
Absolutely.
It's the exact same thing
It
with businesses. Do not fixate on, I need to come up with an idea. I need to come up with an idea. How can I come up with this idea? If that's all you're doing, it's never going to come to you.
Right.
Additionally, I think that a big struggle that a lot of would-be founders have is they really want to take the plunge, but they feel like they need to invent something totally new that's never been done before, and that's a very tough thing to do. Right?
It is.
Many times it's better to just look at a situation very much like what you did. It's not like people weren't already traveling. They were already traveling.
Right.
They were already trying to solve
and it's not like there's a handful of business travel applications out there, by the way. Yeah.
But there are a lot of things trying to solve for, we're going to make it easier for you to book a flight. Well, but none of them are really that easy.
No.
And even if they've simplified booking the flight portion, have they in fact solved the other things that you need, right?
Yeah.
Every flight site you go to right now says, do you want a car and a hotel? And it's still a clunky experience,
It is.
right?
It is.
So you were clearly saying, all right, there's a need here to pull these together.
And it goes beyond that, right? It goes towards listening to your end user and not trying to solve for that problem that doesn't exist, right? When you're hyper connected to your end user, when you're literally walking through processes with them on a day-to-day basis, and you see where there are obstacles, you see where there are pain points, I feel like that's where you can draw inspiration.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, here's the next piece that I wanted to talk about with you.
Yes.
Because there are a lot of would-be founders in the world
Sure.
that are currently moving up the ranks in corporate America.
Absolutely.
They are making great money. They have great opportunities.
Yes.
In the back of their head, they're feeling like, I really want to do my own thing. But the other part of their brain is saying, why stop doing what you're doing? You're doing so well.
Yeah. It's hard. I mean, just to build off of that point, right?
Yeah.
So that was where I came from,
Yeah.
right? I mean, 10 years into corporate America, I was vice president at 26 of a $20 billion company. I had the perfect job. I had the dream job. I had all the toys and all the, extravagance that comes with it.
Yep.
But I've always been passionate about building things and about creating things, right? Like for me, it's kind of silly, but when I was young, it was all about Legos, right?
Okay.
And then after Legos, it was all about like SimCity and Roller Coaster Tycoon, right? And like I've just always had this nerdy obsession with building things, right?
Yeah.
And that doesn't go away,
right?
So it is hard, right? When you start to kind of get to a certain, I'll call it, at status level is not the right descriptor for it, but when you get to a certain level in life, you start to accumulate things. You start to accumulate houses, and if you're lucky, you get a wife and kids and a family, and you start to build all these things, and your responsibilities, your obligations tend to creep beyond what you maybe had originally thought, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
So to break away from that and start a business is extremely difficult. And for me, it took a lot of preconceived thought, right? It took, saving for many years to be able to step away and effectively start a business. But I encourage it, right? Because, if you had asked me what was the catalyst to start a business, to leave that corporate life, and I hope without being too morbid, it's mortality, right? We only get this opportunity once, right? Life is short, super short. And I think the older you get, the faster time goes, right? If you don't take the opportunity, if you don't seize the opportunity to do something, there's no do-overs. You don't get to turn around and look back and question, could I have done this? Right. Right, wrong, or indifferent. Can you go back and work a corporate job again?
Yes.
Most likely, right? But can you, take that opportunity to start a business again, to chase that dream and do that again? I don't know. I think the older you get, I think the harder it gets. So for me, that constant reminder of there are no do-overs was I've got to do this. I've got to jump in with both feet, and I've got to give it a shot. As if I don't, I will always regret it, and I will always wonder what if, right?
Yeah. Well, Parker, we talked about this before. We were supposed to keep this upbeat, so thanks for bringing it down a notch.
Sorry.
No, the thing about it, though, is this is reality. This is startup life. It is not all sunshine and roses. It is not all champagne and convertibles, right?
No.
That's not what startup life is.
No.
We all see online these successful people with these pictures of their private jets. Most of the time, they don't even own those jets. And
right.
I don't know why they put that message out there, because it is not easy. Here's where I want to go from here, though.
Sure.
Not to bring it potentially down anymore.
No.
But here's the thing. I firmly believe, and I know that we're very, very similar in this belief, that the relationship at home has to be very, very strong if you're going to set out on a journey like this.
It does.
When I started my current business, I didn't want to start a second business. I never wanted to have a business again. My first business was enough stress for one lifetime.
Sure.
And I said, there's no way in hell I'm ever going to do this again.
Sure.
Right? It was my wife who kept pushing me and saying, you were the happiest you've ever been. It was the most money we've ever had. You are meant to own something. You are meant to be an entrepreneur. You are not meant to be an employee. And there's nothing wrong with being an employee. It's just hard for me. Because I want to innovate. I want to do new things. I see challenges and I want to solve for them. But what was that conversation like at home when you decided, I'm going to leave this cushy job and this great money and lifestyle and do this?
Yeah. The first reaction is always, you want to do what now? Right? That's the first reaction is, I don't know how to process that. Right.
Yeah.
But to your point, obviously having the support of a great family structure at home is critical. I can't say enough, obviously, for my wife, what she's done to support me. But there's another element there too, which is, if you have kids, right? And we've shared many conversations around as a startup founder, how do you balance life as a startup founder and, do that when you've got children and you want to spend time with them and be part of their lives. But there's also an element of your children are kind of your mirror, are kind of a mirror in a way, right? Where every time you look at them, it's a reflection back on what are you doing to inspire them? What are you doing to show them that everything in life is possible, that they can accomplish anything that they want in life? And I think, in starting a business, you're setting that example for them, right?
Absolutely.
So there is an interesting dichotomy there, right? Of yes, when you start a business, you're going to be working 1 million hours, right? You're going to be stepping away, and you've got to rationalize that and come to terms with that. But to do that, I think sends the right message to what I want to inspire in my children as well.
Live your dreams.
Live your dreams. Exactly. Live your dreams. Because the only thing, and I think you would agree with this, again, we go back to sharing a lot of the similar, mentalities and kind of the being a founder.
But is that where the title came from?
Is that where the title came from? Yeah. But, with your kids, being able to, show them that you can create, right? That you can, be anything that you want to be, is a powerful message.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, I mean, it gives them someone to look up to. I mean, that's a powerful thing to be able to give to your family. And that has been the most important thing for me in getting this going is, for me, it's my wife. Obviously I can't do the things that I currently do without my wife. No. She holds down the fort. I don't have to worry about anything other than starting my business. And I think for me, that's a critical thing. It leads to some hard conversations. There's always those days where, the kids come home with way more homework than one parent can manage, right? And I'm tied up in meetings until 9 o'clock at night or whatever, or going to an event or whatever it might be. Right. And I just can't be there. But having that person to take care of all those things is critically important, and being able to have those conversations with your spouse to ensure that, hey, are you still okay? Right? Because this is not just a mental hardship for a founder. This is absolutely a mental hardship for everyone involved in the family.
No, exactly. And you turn it into a race, right? Where there is an endpoint, right? And that endpoint is getting to a level of normalcy, right? And getting to spend time together. And I think that's the goal, right, of a lot of people when they start businesses. For some, it's about creating wealth, right? And I would obviously argue that that's not, the motivating factor that's going to lead you to success. But, if your goal is to ultimately create a life where you have more freedom, more freedom to spend time with your family, more freedom to create, more freedom to do things, that, starting a business is a great way to get there. And setting that end goal, setting that path of that's the outcome that you want to manufacture.
That's great. We're at 17 minutes right now. I think that I'm actually going to do it today. I think I'm going to be able to keep this one under 25 because I only have one other piece that I really want to talk to you about.
Sure.
And if you have something else that you wanted to talk about when you were driving over here, you just let me know. But But let's talk a little bit. I had Mitch Kupit on the show. He was my second guest.
It's a great episode.
He's a genius.
He is.
He dropped some insane knowledge about how his process is for fundraising. But what I would say is that there is no one way to raise funds. No. I've done it one way. You've done it one way. Mitch does it his way.
Yeah.
You've successfully raised a good amount of money. And we don't need to talk about specific details, but what has your process been in raising the funding that you have been raising?
So you're right. I think in the sense of there's no like one right way to do it, and there's no silver bullet. Somebody gave me a quote once. They were like, "There's no silver bullet, but I've got a bunch of copper ones, and those generally will do the trick, right?"
Yeah.
I think there are formulas, right, to raising money and raising money successfully. I think writing a great composition paper or doing mathematics, right? There are outcomes that you can manufacture. And my advice is take the time to plot that process before you just go start hitting the street and trying to raise. I think when you think about methodically what it takes to put together a good pitch deck, right? What it takes to put together a great financial projection that makes you not only think about what the financial outcomes are that your investors are entrusting you with, but how you're going to get there and what the path is going to be to get there. I think when you think through those things, when you go through those processes, it challenges you to reflect on what is the story that I need to be bringing to the table, because I think it's all too often, right, raising funds gets glamorized as this kind of sexy thing within the entrepreneurship world. If it's like, they closed this massive round, but the amount of trust and the amount of responsibility and obligation to your investors investors that comes with that. Like that can't be lost in the process, right? And so I'm a firm believer in thinking about your investors as your stockholders, your stakeholders in your company. What is the return that they expect to see, and how are you going to be able to deliver it? If you can answer that question and you can speak to that question well, you probably are not going to have a hard time, getting to those financial outcomes. Now, there are obviously some big gaps, right, that you have to solve for as an entrepreneur, to be able to do that. But that's part of the entrepreneurial journey, and that's what makes it tough, and that's what makes it a grind.
Parker, this was great.
I'm
so glad you came on the show. I hope everybody enjoyed this one.
I appreciate the opportunity.
And again, I'll be making sure to put information on the website so that you can connect with Parker on LinkedIn, so that you can go to his website and see what he's up to, sign up for the beta. I'll make sure to tag you in the LinkedIn post as well, so that if anybody wants to connect with him, look, this is a very open guy. I would highly recommend, if you are in the startup space and you have questions, at a minimum, send him questions in an email or through LinkedIn.
Absolutely.
He's great with answering those things.
More than welcome to connect with me. I love helping others to succeed. There's a lot in life that you get out of giving back, and I find that. And I would definitely encourage people to reach out to me. I'm more than happy to spend the time.
And what is the name of your podcast?
Oh, yes. So we are essentially starting a podcast, more of a vlog, essentially, where we're calling it Unicorns Anonymous.
Love it.
You can find it in my profile on LinkedIn. You can find it on YouTube. But we're really focused on essentially some of those technical tips, right? Which, we talked about putting together that formula, where, these are some of the things that we've seen that we've either missed ourselves in starting a business, or we've seen others and heard others experience pain around. And really making sure that some of those technical tips are there up front, I should say.
It's a perfect fit for you. The things that you do blow my mind from a technical standpoint. The way that you're tracking all of the stuff with your business, I can't even fathom that stuff. But no, you do a great job at it.
Thanks.
So I think that people will find a lot of value from that podcast as well, and hopefully people tune in. But that's been the Founder's Mentality. Thanks for joining. Talk to you again soon.